Okay, before we get into this movie and piss off all of our listeners.
You're assuming we're going to piss off all of our listeners.
Well, before we get to that point.
And you're assuming it's we and not me.
Yeah, basically. So I would like to thank Ryan Terry, who recommended this movie. I think it was like a month ago. I was looking for movies to do in November. Mm-hmm. So I took like requests from our most common listeners that talk to us. And he's one of them. So he had recommended Dark Crystal, and Matt Lewinsky recommended something. I think a few other people recommended things. Joe, yes, you're right. So a few people recommended things. And anyways, we did a poll, and Dark Crystal won. So I just want to thank you for doing that. No matter what we say about this movie, we do really appreciate when people give us participate and do things like that
feedback
for us.
And reach out to us.
Right. So I just wanted to say that up front. So the movie this week was technically my choice. So it seems like all of the listener choices are my choice, oddly.
Well, there's a reason for that. You're the one that actually
listens to the listeners?
Interacts with the listeners.
Yeah. We're getting better at that. So I guess I should say we have a Facebook group now that we're doing a lot of things with.
And I did a thing.
Yeah, so Tuesdays, you can actually talk to Tyler. He does Trivia Tuesday, and he is doing his best to actually respond here and there. So if you want to actually talk to him, that's pretty much the only way you're going to be able to do it, because he doesn't use any form of social media, and he doesn't even look at the Cinematically Correct email. So if you want to talk to him, it's Cinematically Correct's listener group on Facebook, and Tuesdays is when he's on. So
I'm Tyler.
I'm Shay, and this is Cinematically Correct. And this week we did Dark Crystal.
Yeah. I don't know how to sum up this movie.
Yeah. So,
the Tyler brief synopsis is not a brief synopsis for this movie. Like, how?
Okay, so give the elongated synopsis. That's okay.
So it's a fictional world called Thim, I believe.
Yeah, which had, like, a bunch of different names, but Jim Henson wanted something else, but it was too close to, like, something, so they changed the name, and then they had to shorten it, and yeah.
It was a whole debacle. So they changed it, and it doesn't even appear in the movie anyway, so it's an irrelevant detail. It's a world taken over by the Skeksis, which are bad, vulture-ish, giant bird monsters. Then there's the...
I think there's actually dragon in them too, but
well, whatever. Then there's the mystics, which are the
really slow moving
like
sloth creatures
/ lizard weird things. Mm-hmm. And then there are gelflings, which are kind of like mouse, horse, person. It was a weird kind of
they have very strange shaped
there's
faces.
only one of them left. We found out later there's two of them left.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait, what?
They go on an adventure to repair the Dark Crystal that is destroying the world.
Yeah, basically. So, okay. So to start with, this movie is a Jim Henson movie.
Which
I don't think either one of us realized before we saw this.
All puppets.
Right.
All puppets.
Right. So, all puppets. I will say, from a standpoint of looking at it as, like, something different and cinematically, like, cool and stuff, like, it was beautifully shot. The puppet work was amazing. Like, if you didn't know it was puppets, honestly, you couldn't see that anywhere. I think I did read somewhere on IMDb that there were a few goof shots where you could actually see the person who was puppeteering, and there's about 6 people for each character. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, that didn't take away from the movie at all. Like, all of that was really well done.
Yes. That's not what I had a problem with for this movie.
I know, but I wanted to get the good things out of the way first.
Smart.
So, yeah, I mean, you gotta pad it at the front. So, I did really appreciate that, and I will never take away from Jim Henson. He was a genius, like, amazing.
He gave us Sesame Street and the Muppets. I mean, how do you hate that man?
Right, you can't.
It's impossible.
You can't not like him. So I want to be very clear that no matter what we say, we love Jim Henson, and there is no ill will towards him at all.
Jim Henson is an American treasure.
Right. Okay. I just want to make sure we're clear on that. Nobody comes at us and says, "How do you not like Jim Henson?" Like, that is not the case. We love him.
Well, we'll just know that they haven't listened to the podcast.
Fair. Thank you. I like it. So, anyway, I guess now we have to go down a bad rabbit hole that I don't want to go down, but...
Well, there are just other things in the movie where, like, the special effects were on point for the puppetry and the cinematography. Where I felt the movie was lacking was the plot and the depth of why they were doing this in the first place.
So I'm going to play the devil's advocate here just because I can. Now, remember when we watched Rocky Horror Picture Show and we said we had a problem with the plot, a lot of the response we received was, you're watching this for the wrong reason. You shouldn't be watching it for the plot. You should be watching it for the experience. And I have a feeling that is going to be a very similar reaction here because, one, it's a children's movie that many people grew up with and they have a lot of nostalgia surrounding. And two, it's very new for its time. Like, something like this did not exist in this time period. So
I don't think I can name another movie where it's just puppets other than maybe Team America.
Yeah, I mean, just puppets? No.
Just puppets.
No, I don't think I can either. I'm sure, I mean, so you guys can let us know. I'm sure you guys know. You guys always seem to come out with...
Don't do this to us. Please, no.
Well, you guys always seem to come out with crazy things. So, I mean, you had mentioned Labyrinth to me. Did that have puppets in it?
I did have puppets in it, but there are also people.
Okay, so if there is an all-puppet movie out there, we're not aware of it. But let us know, because I like when you let us know things.
So I had a problem with that. It was kind of Lord of the Rings or Hobbit-esque, but without any kind of the deeper backstory.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. And that might be a little bit why I wasn't super interested, because I don't like that type of movie. But
and to be fair, this was not really, to me, a kid's movie. I mean, it had puppets in it, but it was not really... I mean, I guess it was... But there was a lot of dark themes to this movie that I don't know if I would want children to go see.
I'm sure you read, because you read the same type of trivia that I do, that Jim Henson believed that he needed to go towards the Brothers Grimm fairy tale type things for kids because he believes that children need to learn to be scared more and deal with that emotion. So,
I mean, I guess that's fair. I mean...
But the audience agreed with you. A lot of them did not like it because of that reason. They felt it wasn't appropriate for children. So...
I mean, that just jumps out to me. Those 2 points. I mean, the rest of the movie was basically...
Do you want to know my biggest problem with the movie?
What was your biggest problem with the movie?
The hero was useless. Like, I mean, remember how in Big Trouble in Little China you, like, hated the main character because he was useless?
He actually did the thing that he was supposed to do, though.
Okay, but he goes to get the shard of crystal from... I forget her name now, but the Agra, the one who sits in a very odd position. And he gets it, and he doesn't know why he got it until he goes to his hometown to read hieroglyphics, and he needed his girlfriend, whatever, to help him, who can't read. And then they're like, oh, well, I'm supposed to put this into a crystal?
To be perfectly fair, it's on the other people to tell him, and they drop the ball massively.
You don't think that at some point along the way you would have said to someone, why am I doing this? What is the purpose? Like, what's my goal here? Like, someone, really, you wouldn't have asked anyone involved. Like, he just bugged me.
He did it to do it?
Yeah, and he just bugged me throughout the whole thing. Like, you're not thinking, man. Like, what's your deal? I don't
know. I mean, the mystics, the old mystic that died at the very beginning of the movie, spoilers, didn't think to tell him before 3 months before the world is ending. Like, yeah, raised him since a child, and he's not like, you should be preparing from basically day one to save the world. Like, that's going to be your destiny. Please run some sprints and run a couple miles.
Do you think they possibly did that because he didn't want him to worry his whole life? Like, I mean, I was thinking he was probably trying to protect him.
But you're leaving him completely unprepared.
I mean, I agree, but...
I mean, there has to be some kind of balance. Even if it's 3, 4, 5 years when he's an adult and can take the burden.
True. But
not... Oh, by the way, there's 20 minutes till closing. Go Good luck.
Okay, that's fair.
Kick him out the door. The other thing I don't understand is why he didn't just take all of them. The crystals when
I don't know. I was yelling at the TV like, hello, if you don't know which one it is, just take them all.
Just hustle. You're on a deadline. On the clock.
I'm thinking that for plot point reasons, so that the crystal could do that cool thing that it did.
The glowing?
Maybe. The other thing, though, that I have to say I had an issue with, which apparently they had also an issue with it when they tested it in audiences, is I couldn't understand them. That I had a hard time following the plot because I literally couldn't understand some of the things they were saying.
Which makes me wonder, how difficult to follow was the original cut of this movie?
Right. Now, I know that they said they changed it. I think they said actress, so I'm going to assume it was Kira.
Yeah.
Because she was so hard to understand. And
I believe she was changed more than once, actually.
I think you're right. So, and I know you had said to me that part of it could be because we can't see the way that their mouths are moving, so it might be, like, harder. But I think it's also, too, that I'm assuming the voices are coming from somewhere else on the stage and it's being projected in.
Well, they're being dubbed onto the...
Right. So...
the film.
It was very difficult for me, and I think what happened is when I didn't understand what was going on, I started spacing out because I was like, oh, well, I don't know what's going on anyway, so what's the point of watching? So... that's not good. So maybe I would have liked it better if it was easier to understand.
It was at times difficult to get exactly what they were saying. I will give you.
Yeah. So I mean, I will say I didn't hate the movie. I did appreciate some of the pieces to it. I did enjoy the little pieces of Greek mythology mixed in there and
the
stuff
Stygian
like that.
witches with the eyeball and
yeah. I mean, obviously for me that makes me think of Hercules because I'm a Disney loser and that's just what I think of, but I appreciate that kind of thing. I thought that was interesting. I don't know if they meant to reference hell, but to me they referenced hell pretty clearly.
Well, it's a giant pit of fire in the middle of the castle. That's a straight shot to
I looked it up to try to see if that was the intention and I didn't find anything. I did find that the Sacraces or whatever it was, based off of the 7 deadly sins.
Skeksis.
There
was 9 of them based off the 7 deadly sins originally, but there was 9 of them, which doesn't make sense.
So some of them were based off of them more than once.
Yeah.
But I thought that was interesting. Little tidbits like that I do enjoy, and I think that obviously they put
Stop giving out all the facts. I have to save at least one of them for Tuesday. You're killing me here.
You'll don't worry. There's plenty out there, and I'm sure when we release this and tell everybody that we didn't like it, they will be bombarding us with stuff. So,
yeah, I did not like this movie.
I know you didn't. So, I did want to ask you what you thought about the spider puppets.
The spider puppets? You mean the?
I don't know what you want to call them, but I call them spider puppets.
The Grathling or whatever it was, the giant crab monsters.
Yes.
They reminded me of Fallout.
Reminded you of Fallout, the video game?
Yeah. In Fallout, they have what is called a Mirelurk, which looks basically like that. It's looked like basically. I think they were just like, oh yeah, that's terrifying. We're gonna steal it for the video game.
It was terrifying. I can't even.
I will show you a picture of one of the crab monsters from Fallout, and be like, oh yeah, it's basically the same thing.
Okay, but I definitely need to see it. I want to see a picture of that.
That's instantly what I thought. I was like, that's... Fallout did that after. So, clearly they were the plagiarizer. They were terrifying.
They were.
Didn't make any noise, other than the scuttling of beetles.
Which was more terrifying for me.
Yes. Worse than the Kool-Aid Man. Mm. You said that during the watching of the movie.
I love how you take my comments throughout movies and just throw them into the podcast.
Well, I gotta have some kind of interesting insight.
So you take my comments?
Yeah.
I'm not that interesting.
I'll agree with that.
Rude.
So I don't understand why they went to a party. If they're on a deadline, why are they hanging out having a party?
I was confused with the whole party thing. What were they having a party for again? I couldn't follow that part.
It didn't make any sense to me.
Well, there had to have been a reason.
To play up the Kira Jen love interest, I guess.
Okay, was it a love interest? That's a question of mine. Was it a love interest?
They totally wound up at the end of the movie having puppet sex.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of questions about that. I mean, there was puppet nudity, so...
There was puppet nudity, and I'm convinced that they got together and had puppet sex and had puppet babies.
I mean, what is this going to be like Happy Time Murders type sex, or...
I don't know. That movie trailer you showed me was very inappropriate.
So, full disclosure, he didn't even know what Happy Time Murders was until earlier today.
Did not. No, not even a little.
No. So I did some research to see if there was any other puppet movies and like what the most recent one was. And the most recent one is Happy Time Murders. He had never heard of it, so I had to show him the trailer. And it is so inappropriate.
It's Team America World Police inappropriate. Like that movie.
Yeah. I don't know if that's going to ever make it to the podcast just because of how inappropriate it is. But, you know, maybe. Yeah. Maybe one day.
We already did Sausage Party.
Yeah, I think this one has it beat.
Probably.
Pretty sure. Another thing that I wanted to mention to you, I don't know if you saw, but you know how when we were watching the movie, you were like, why does they all of a sudden look blue?
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was a trick of the camera or anything like happened by accident, but I did read that Jen apparently was originally supposed to be blue in homage to the Hindu god Rana.
Okay.
So I thought that was kind of interesting. Like, maybe it was intentional, or maybe, like, there was a cut of the movie
But I feel like he was not... Oh, he had blue hair for part of the movie, but then also didn't have blue hair, I felt.
Right, so I don't know, like, if that was intentionally put in there, or if maybe, like, there was a mistake in, like, the version we watched, or, you know, whatever. But I just thought it was interesting that you had mentioned it, and then it was originally supposed to be that way.
I mean, I want to talk about how unfair it is that she gets wings.
Oh my gosh.
What do you mean, oh my god? It's not fair.
Maybe she drank a lot of Red Bull.
No, she has wings, and he doesn't. That's garbage. Just outrageous and garbage.
Because everything is fair, right? The world is fair, and we have all the same parts.
We don't have all the same parts, but I'll turn in some of my parts for wings. Are you kidding? Like, how crazy is that?
Maybe you can just, like, create
Not those parts. Get your mind out of the gutter.
I was going to say, maybe you can create a helicopter from it.
No, I'd give up a nose for wings.
You'd give up a nose? You'd give up your sense of smell?
I mean, yeah, for flying.
I feel like that's a little extreme.
I don't know what else I would give up. Not sight, because sight is important.
What about your gray hair? Had to find a way to slide that in there.
Yeah, I'd give up a few toes.
All right.
Fingers, even maybe.
So you basically wouldn't be able to walk, but you can fly, so it's okay.
Yeah, who cares? Flying is better.
Yeah, totally fine. I know you don't want to give away too much, so do you have anything that you want to talk about that you don't want to not give away?
Give away in terms of what? For my one trivia fact on Tuesday? Mm-hmm. That's not that hard to hold back one fact.
Okay, just want to make sure. I did have one thing I had asked you to look up before. So
the prequel?
Yes. So a lot of people, we released our audience ask question. I think it was either yesterday or the day before, and people have been basically talking all about the Netflix prequel that's supposed to be coming out. And I haven't really gotten to look much into it, but Tyler did, so...
So I got a little bit of information. There's obviously not a whole lot. I watched the trailer, mm-hmm. but it was more like behind the scenes. Jim Henson was talking in the background and like didn't have a whole lot of information from the Netflix trailer.
Okay.
It's a prequel. Jim Henson Company is involved. Obviously not Jim Henson because he passed away in, I believe, 1990.
Yeah, he was 53, I believe.
Yeah, so sadly young. It follows the story of three Gelflings that light the fires of rebellion after learning about the Skeksis power.
Okay. So they didn't have any, like, shots of it or anything, so you couldn't tell, like, if it was similar at all?
Well, they had a couple things where they're showing some of the puppets, but it was very limited to what we actually got to see in the trailer.
Okay. And do we have any idea when it's coming out?
We do not. It's directed by Louis Leterrier.
Okay.
I believe it's a United Kingdom production.
Interesting.
So we will see. That's all I got on the prequel.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we mentioned that since everyone's been talking about it. I figured we should probably at least give it some chance to look it up.
So I have random facts. So
sure, go ahead.
I have a cousin named Kira.
That's the most random fact I've ever heard in my life, but okay,
yeah,
sure.
Just random. It was banned in several Islamic countries or Muslim countries.
Yeah, I read that it was upset about the way religion was represented, but like, what does that mean?
Well, in a lot of repressive countries, you can't say anything, even if it's close. Like in
Say what? Like, what did they say?
Well, in China, you can't have Winnie the Pooh anymore.
Why?
Because there was a picture of President Obama with the president of China, and somebody did a Tigger and Winnie the Pooh thing, and that's now being blocked in China because he can't take a Winnie the Pooh reference. I don't.
But so, what did this movie do religion-wise? I don't.
Well, it was kind of the whole multi-deity beings at the end of the movie that it's the yin yang, which is.
Well, yeah, yin yang was the whole movie because right. I mean, like one of them got hurt, the other one.
Well, exactly. So that's not in teaching with, to my knowledge, the Islamic doctrine. I'm not a scholar, and I'm not gonna profess to know anything about their tenets of belief. But my understanding, that's more Eastern, Far Eastern philosophy in terms of Buddhism and so forth.
Okay, I mean, I didn't realize that they were that, like, that they can't have, like, fantastical movies. Like, it's not like it's a movie that's telling you how to act or be or anything like that. It's meant to be fantastical. Right,
and they're not making fun of Islam or Muslim people at all. No. And it's one of those things where it's kind of like a silly reason to ban a movie. I don't know. So, let's see. Jim Henson was most proud of this movie.
Yeah, it was like a passion project for him. It seems like it got like let go by a few networks and then he ended up funding it himself.
Well, right. So, he had not wanted to monetize the merchandise for the Muppets. Mm-hmm. And then somebody said, hey, that's dumb. If you do that, you can basically do whatever you want forever. And he's like, oh, I'll do that. And then he made this movie.
I mean, it was not a bad movie in his execution. I just think the plot was lacking.
I mean, it was very superficial.
Right.
Like, it was just...
But it was a kid's movie, so I think we need to take it at that value. I mean, I told you before, the comparison I like is the comparison to Star Wars and the fact that if you had watched Star Wars as a kid growing up, you're going to love the movie. But if you came to it now as like a 30-year-old man and went back and watched it for the first time, it may not hold up the same.
Well, I even think that's a little bit of a generational thing because we were born well after Star Wars came out, the original.
True.
And we didn't watch it for a while. At least I didn't until I was
I didn't either.
12 or 13 or so.
Yeah.
And by that point, technology had advanced to the point where it just better special effects. So the lightsabers were cool, but it wasn't the same level of how did they do that.
Right. And I mean, I remember watching the first few movies being like, oh, this is kind of cheesy, but like a cute cheesy. Like I
love Star Wars. I enjoy the movies, and the originals are better than the prequels and the sequels and all of the extra.
But I could see how somebody who, especially like someone now that's like in 2021, might look at the original movies and be like, oh, this is kind of campy and whatever, because they are silly and they are like, so I think we do need to kind of take that into account. But if we're evaluating it now as a movie we've seen now, then no, I wouldn't really enjoy it. But I do want to take that into account when looking at this movie.
Well, do you think puppets are harder to pull off nowadays rather than CGI? I think CGI is the lazy way out of things now.
Yeah, I mean, somebody made a comparison to Avatar with the CGI situation, saying how they both had pretty boring plots and all of that, but
well, Avatar was just Pocahontas in space.
To be honest, I don't even remember much about Avatar, so I can't. But in the same respect, they were saying like CGI was the easy way out, and they couldn't even do an amazing, fantastic like storyline. Where this at least,
I mean, it was interesting. I love the special effects in Avatar, but there was not a whole lot of deeper.
Right. So if you watch Avatar 20 years from now, how would you feel?
That's going to be an interesting question.
Right. So,
and that is fair.
How much more do you have? Because I want to do audience asks.
I don't have a whole lot more, honestly. I felt like the source material could have been condensed into a much shorter film.
Yeah, you were like, this could have been a 15-minute short.
It could have been a 15-minute short. Those guys walking took forever. There was like 6 shots of them walking that we didn't need.
I think that was kind of the point, was to show how long it took them. I mean, they should have been kind of part turtle, just saying. Like, they missed an opportunity there. But
I mean, maybe they were, because they had that kind of weird, leathery, not scaly skin.
Okay, I mean, that's fair.
They're very hunched as well.
That could be.
So, audience asks, what do you got?
I am looking right now. So, first question from PC Hassler. Do you think Fizzgig is a domesticated creature from the Critters universe?
No, I don't know what the Critters universe is, but I'm just going to say no.
Don't?
No.
Oh, I guess this is going to be another movie that we have to watch.
No. And we thought it was Biscuit for the first half of the movie.
We really did. And, like, to be honest, I kind of wish it was Biscuit. Because I really, like, kind of grew an affection for Biscuit, and then it wasn't.
Well, we didn't know until I looked it up on IMDb halfway through the movie.
So this is how hard it was for us to understand the movie. But, let's see. Okay. Go Your Own YA Podcast. They said, would you rather live in this world or the Labyrinth?
Labyrinth are actual people.
That's really your only reason, is because Labyrinth are actual people?
No, I'd go insane with just puppets.
Okay, so since I haven't seen Labyrinth, can you give me like a brief, like, 2-second, like,
there's
what it
no
is?
way to explain it in 2 seconds. David Bowie kidnaps a child, and her...
I mean, you had me at David Bowie.
The older sister has to go rescue him, and he's trying to marry the older sister, so he kidnaps the brother, and she has to walk through a labyrinth.
Now, is this as campy as that?
I think Labyrinth might be more campy.
But you liked Labyrinth, right?
Well, it's fine. I watched it when I was much younger, so I haven't watched it recently.
Okay.
So maybe I'm looking at it through rose-colored glasses because I was a child when I watched it, probably 12, 13. Maybe 14, 15.
I feel like now we have to go back and destroy some of our childhood favorite movies. Like, because
well, that's a long list of Disney movies for you.
Oh, I know. That's a long list of Disney movies. But we've destroyed so many other people's that I feel like it's only fair.
We've destroyed one of other people's.
Well, and Big Trouble in Little China was like...
Well, that's the one I'm talking about. Oh. We haven't yet destroyed this one. We've been kind of crapping on it, but...
Okay. But anyways...
So that's 2 movies. We've destroyed 2 movies. That's not... that many.
Fair. Anyways, so I think we're actually going to finish on time for the first time in weeks. So I am so happy about that. Do you have anything else you want to add? Before we get into rating.
I did say this during the movie, and it makes me sound like a terrible person. But I said, who voted for this movie and how do we punish them?
Yeah, and Ryan, please don't take offense to that. He is mean and horrible, and he likes to attack. He was attacking Matt Lewinsky forever, and I guess it's your turn now. But,
that'll never not be Matt Lewinsky's turn. Like, he's always at the top of the list.
Oh, my goodness.
If you're listening, Matt, I hate you still.
Oh, boy. Okay. So if you, Matt, would like to talk to Tyler... definitely head to the Facebook group, even though you told me you don't.
Oh my god, we didn't talk about the darkest part of this movie.
Oh no, we're not going to make it for 30 minutes. Guys, don't be mad at me.
So we didn't talk about the draining of essences that was thrown in there, which is really dark.
Oh yeah, with the light in the eyes.
The light in the eyes, and it sucks your life force out of you. Like, who thought that was a good idea for a kid's movie? Like, what the hell, Jim Henson?
But how did they get their life force back is what I want to know.
I don't have an answer for you.
I'm assuming that when the crystal was, like, put back together, like, all of a sudden everything was just resolved and they all just magically got better? That was my assumption.
I have no answer, darling. It was really dark at the end of the movie. And it's like, that came out of nowhere and, like, you're making them soulless mind slaves. What the hell?
I'm glad that you got that out of your system.
Well, yeah, I had to. Well, that's it.
Okay,
we have to rate the movie.
We have to rate the movie, so go ahead. Shit on it. Do you?
5.
Whoa, that's low. That's low. I wonder what you rated Big Trouble in Little China. I do not remember.
This has to be at least a few points. So whatever my rating for Big Trouble, I don't remember. This is at least a few points higher. Because that movie was terrible. Terrible garbage, and people should be ashamed for liking it.
So guys, if you have other movies you want Tyler to hate, please send them to us.
This movie is only marginally better in that category.
One thing I wanted to say before I give my rating is we are going to start doing movies in theaters. So I think we might start in December, maybe January. I don't actually know when it'll start. But if you have recommendations, please tell us. Otherwise, we're probably just going to
wing it.
Kind of go with whatever movie is in theaters the weekend we're free. But we'll see. Anyway, so my rating, probably a 7.
Really?
So I really enjoyed the
visuals.
The visuals and the creativity that went behind it, and the fact that this is the first live action puppet movie with no humans. I think that's an incredible feat, especially for the time. The plot was terrible and I could not follow it.
So, having said that, I'm going to revise my rating, so it's going to go to a 6.5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa. And I convinced Tyler to raise his score. I feel like I have accomplished something today.
And if I rated Big Trouble in Little China higher than that, which I can't imagine I did.
There's no way. No.
It's still this movie is ahead of that movie. I have to.
I really want to get you now to a movie that you like less than Big Trouble in Little China.
I don't think that is possible.
You heard it here. He doesn't think it's possible, guys. Send us movies because I believe it is. Anyways, so next week we are doing your choice movie. So what is that going to be?
Another football movie. So it's going to be Rudy. You've never seen it.
I have not seen it.
You've never seen any football movie, so I just picked 2 of my personal favorites.
Which is weird because I like football.
Yeah, I don't have an answer for it.
I don't either. So we'll be doing that next week. Saturday we'll be doing some kind of shout out Saturday thing on our Facebook group, and then Tuesday he's back to Trivia Tuesdays. So please check those out.
Wednesday's pictures, supposedly.
Wednesdays we will have some type of picture to promote the podcast. Not sure what we're doing. We haven't decided yet. So last minute everything.
Who the hell can figure out a picture for this movie?
Yeah, so I guess if you're curious, that will be posted as well. So anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. I hope we didn't upset you too much with our horrible ratings. But thank you to Jake at Athos Music for intro and outro music. And I'm looking forward to a movie that we will review positively next week.